please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Midcap Radar. The market is up 35 points. It's been that way for the last couple of hours or so. But, well, who cares? Look at the PSU Bank index, which is seeing that big rebound. It was up 5%, by the way. It's up only about 4 1/3%. But this is huge relief rally, big short covering. Stocks are up anything between 5 and 15%, depending on what you look at. So this is... the rally pretty much seems like it is an exclusion to everything else because the Nifty is up 35 points. Of course, you've got to sort of keep this in perspective in terms of how much these stocks got compressed and they're kind of recoiling back, so to speak. Lots of other stuff happening, and we'll get to those things in just a bit. With me is my colleague Sumera. Sumera, afternoon.
Hi Prashant, good afternoon to you as well. And we should also take stock of what's happening in the European markets. I suspect that the opening over there would be a tad bit mixed. So mixed to just mildly positive in the CAC. The key for investors to watch out for now will be the US inflation data, and that I suppose will define the trend now for investments for the market going forward. So for now, the Europe is open just about tepid. But let's take you what's happening in our own market.
Look at the big move coming in on PC Jeweller. Stocks up almost 6%, and it's at the day's high. I mean, Future Consumer is another one. It was up about 10 or 11% a few hours back. It's up almost 18%. So very large moves. And of course, I mean, the other future group stocks, and there are more than a few listed, they're all doing very, very well. We'll get to these in a bit. Ashwani is with us, as always, on the top of the show. Ashwani, thanks very much. So 33 points on the Nifty. Are you looking at the Nifty? Are you looking at other things? What's your broader reading of the market?
See, we traded the Bank Nifty both yesterday and today. Now, the rally is a couple of days old. So maybe we can't expect a finish like yesterday. But it appears that the weaker financials like, PSU Banks and PSU, NBFCs, etc., they could have more on the upside. This is basically a catch-up. For many days, global markets went up and we kept on going down. So now it's basically a catch-up, a bit of trigger, and people are covering their short positions, etc. So overall, still a positive market, but not as positive as yesterday or maybe today in the morning. Having said that, Syndicate Bank is a buy with a stop of 57, target of 65. PC Jeweller is a buy with a stop of 345, target of 362. And Diwan Housing is a buy with a stop of 520, target of 545.
You looked at any of these old private sector banks, Karnataka, Federal, South Indian?
See, today mid-caps have participated with gusto, so obviously all of these banks are likely to move up a bit. They may or may not get back to previous highs, and that's something people should understand, that this year you may not have a similar kind of mid-cap rally that you had last year, and far fewer stocks could participate on the upside.
I mean, if you looked at these individual public sector bank stocks, is there a common thread in terms of an important technical level or something at which point they get sold into once again? Anything common there? I mean, one or two indicators?
See, basically, 3 to 5 day correction, even in the worst kind of bear markets, is possible. But the day they start falling, they'll fall, 7, 8, 10%, and you'll know something has gone wrong again. So that way, while you can ride it, and in the futures lot, they have large positions, and you can make some money over the next 3-4 sessions. But I don't think it's a very sustainable kind of a move, because these guys, they need structural change, and unless that happens, you should expect new lows at some point.
All right, Ashwani, thanks very much for your thoughts this afternoon. Let's also talk about the banking space because that's where the real buzz has been today. And we caught up with the management of Bank of India, and the news over there was that they have recovered NPAs worth about 7,000 crores over the last 2 months. Dinabandhu Mohapatra, the MD and CEO, spoke with us, and he says that they're hopeful of recovering another 2 to 3,000 over the next few months.
Have you all managed to recover 7,000 crore rupees this year from Jan onwards?
Yes. In the meantime, we have recovered around 7,000 crores.
Okay.
So that will be reflected in this quarter's performance.
Okay. And you may do more?
Yes, some other also expected to be recovered.
So in the next couple of months, how much do you think you can recover? Another 2-3,000 crores?
I hope so. Q1, Q2 will be very good, I know. But this Q4 we are still calculating on the numbers, because of this we are just discussing with different promoters and persuading them to recover whatever overdue amount. So that will depend on the entire process. But Q1, I know you see all these big accounts, NCLT accounts are expected to be resolved in Q1. And we are expecting a huge write back on that account.
Remember, a couple of weeks back, the RBI came up with a new set of norms for banks to deal with NPAs. They withdrew all the existing guidelines, SDR, CDR, everything basically went out of the window. They've been replaced by new guidelines. We spoke with the managements of Bank of Baroda and Bank of India, and they say that naturally there will be some rise in non-performing loans, which is expected on account of the new norms. Most likely they will show up in this quarter, the fourth quarter, and the subsequent quarters as well, isn't it?
The provision numbers are higher because of the revised accounting policy. We would still remain comfortable with respect to our capital adequacy and our net NPA number and our coverage ratio, and we would see a much better result next year. So I think I just want to look at it as some kind of a front ending which has happened to us twice before in terms of bringing the losses forward. There would be some pickup in the net NPA number and the gross NPA number, some of which will be offset because of the growth, but we'll still be within the zone of comfort.
Now, the stock in focus is Thomas Cook. The company has met with investors to discuss their growth and strategies for the year ahead. Madhava Menon, the chairman and MD of the company, now joins in. Mr. Menon, good afternoon. Thanks much for speaking with us. First up, can you give us a sense of what is it that you have outlined to investors regarding the internal restructuring itself that you had announced earlier? By when can we expect some forward movement on the simplification of the group structure?
Good afternoon, Sumaira. Just to sort of go back to 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, when we announced that the board had authorized the management to examine the possibility of spinning off Quest to the shareholders of Thomas Cook. This was an expression of intent, and we've started the process. You'll appreciate that this is a fairly complex process, and we're going through the process as we talk. Our intention is to spin off the shareholding that Thomas Cook holds in Quest to the shareholders of Thomas Cook. And the rationale is very simple. We acquired Quest in 2013, and since then both Quest and Thomas Cook have undertaken multiple acquisitions, making our structures extremely complex. We also recognize that by doing this, we will allow Quest to follow its own trajectory of growth, and it will free up Thomas Cook also to follow its own trajectory of growth. So my expectation is that in the next couple of weeks, when we've completed this process, and when I say couple of weeks, I'm not talking very long, Sumaira, we will actually be able to announce the exact structure that we will follow in the spin-off.
Mr. Menon, hi, good afternoon. Prashant here. You met investors earlier today, right? Could you, analysts, etc., could you talk to us a little bit about what was the main main point of discussions, etc.?
We normally meet investors on an ongoing basis, and this is not a particular one-off meeting that we've conducted.
Sure.
And our constant effort is to demystify the reported results of Thomas Cook, the Thomas Cook Group, especially given that the two main players in this group are Quest and Thomas Cook, and with every quarter they begin to look more and more complicated. Thomas Cook, if you look at it, has got a whole series of companies under it, which are representative of the travel services group. If you look at our portfolio side, you've got Quest, which seems to, which does multiple acquisitions every quarter. I mean, if I just look at the last quarter, they've done 4 acquisitions or 5 acquisitions. So the reality is that our effort is to demystify this whole thing. And all our investor meetings with individual or groups of investors are always driven by the fact that we try to explain what the company is doing.
Mm-hmm. Just to come to business itself, could you tell us what Jan to March has basically been for you, like qualitatively, broadly, both on the travel and the financial services side of business, and specifically on the B2B side for both travel and financial services?
Okay. So, Prashant, let me sort of address every segment. I think we've seen the impact of GST ease significantly starting December, and as we've seen it through the current months, as the market settles down and there is far more clarity on how GST is being worked through the system. So we are seeing corporate travel pick up again. So from that point of view, we've had a better first 2 months. On the collection side, there has been a significant improvement after each of the corporates figured out exactly how GST reporting was going to play out. As far as the outbound business is concerned, which is the B2C business, we've actually seen that we've used technology, as I may mention, which includes machine learning. We've actually seen a significant growth in our bookings, both in the last quarter of 17-18 and the first quarter of 18-19. And we see a fair amount of buoyancy, which is both organic growth as well as growth because we've used technology. So it's actually looking very good. I have not seen this sort of growth since 2012, and I'm really looking forward to a good season in the outbound. As far as the inbound business is concerned, I think we've had a good season India inbound. We've actually seen that with the visa on arrival, the wind through that entire change is beginning to show itself. We've seen significant growth in the year 17-18, and I don't believe that 18-19 is going to be any different, driven by 2 factors. One, we've done customer additions, and you'll appreciate the inbound business. It's got a 12-month period before the bookings actually materialize. And we've just come out of ITB, which is the international travel market in Berlin, and we've actually seen one of our busiest years in recent times. And the interest in India is really growing. I think it's supported by the Incredible India campaign, which the government launched a couple of months ago, and it's beginning to tick.
Fair enough. So, I mean, that's pretty comprehensive on the travel side. Financial services, Mr. Menon, you want to quickly, very briefly take us through what's happening there?
Yeah, Prashant, sorry, I missed that point. I think on the financial services side, it's steady growth, Prashant. We are seeing our our retail business grow. The stability of the rupee has brought some sort of dampening on the wholesale side. But we've, over the last year, we have reduced our dependence on the wholesale side. We've actually seen growth on the retail side. We've seen growth on the corporate side of foreign exchange. And an important element that has just happened is that in the money transfer business, effective a month ago, we became the only money changer in India who represents Western Union, MoneyGram, and Express Money, which are the 3 money transfer companies. And we are now going to start offering their services. We always offered Express Money and MoneyGram, but now with Western Union coming in, we actually believe that we can grow our customer base based on that.
Mr. Menon, it's a pleasure. Good luck. So you are indicating towards a good quarter. That is the quarter that we are in. And you're indicating that it's going to be a strong FY19 as well, both from the travel and the financial services side. Bank of India, some flashes at the bottom of your screen. So just to take quick stock of that, Bank of India invoked the SBLCs and other banks paid the amount.
This is actually, I think, Lata has spoken to the people in Bank of India. So this is the 7,000 crores of recoveries that they have made over the last few months. These are actually, I think, the internals of that. So these recoveries are related to the standing letters of credit, which were discounted by BOI, and they had discounted some of the LCs which were relating to accounts classified as NPAs. It's like, we'll have Lata joining us in just a bit. Some of the LOCs were to companies like Aban, Videocon, Sterling, and BOI has actually invoked these standing letters of credit, and other banks have paid the amount. So that's basically the internals of where that 7,000 crores has come from. Lata is here with us. Lata, you want to take us through what this means?
Yes, we actually interviewed the BOI chairman, managing director, but they don't take names of clients in public. So we had to use some sources, and we could get the names of the guys from whom or on behalf of whom Bank of India could get that money. These were LCs which had been opened by other banks, and BOI had given them the loan on the strength. It's exactly like the Nirav Modi thing, because these accounts were with various banks. The other banks raised an LC, like BOI, and then they say, okay, we have taken a bet on you as a bank, not on the client, so you pay me back. That is the meaning of invoking an LC. And because the bet was taken on the banks paid up. Now, the positive on all this is that it looks like all banks are doing their utmost to get recoveries. The slight negative in this is Bank of India has not got the money from the NPA guys. They've got it from other banks. So that's for the system as a whole, that's not, a gain. It's not a net gain. But what it definitely shows is that banks are absolutely pushing the envelope on getting recoveries.
In terms of getting this back. Lata, thanks very much for that. I mean, I don't know if this is the news which is causing a bit of correction, but look at Bank of India, it's come off. It was up almost, I think, 11-12%. It's down to being up just 9%. And look at the Nifty as well. That's also slumped a little bit. We are barely in the green now. The Nifty, I just want to put up the Nifty PSU Bank Index before we take a break, and we have to take a break. So yeah, I mean, we were up almost 5. I mean, when we started, we were up 3.5%.
The big bad world.
Yeah.
Why is it that everything is falling?
So,
I mean, the Sensex and the Nifty are also getting into...
The Nifty PSU Bank Index has lost 1% from the time that we started at 130. So there is a, there is a cut which is happening as we
It's not only banks. The Nifty also has fallen. So maybe there are entities other than banks.
If you can actually put up what's moved in the last couple of minutes, I think we'll be able to see that more clearly. Maybe, I mean, there's got to be some heavyweights as well which have turned around. So that's essentially the maximum pressure, index point pressure. TCS, Kotak Bank, Infosys, Maruti. And I think what's essentially happened is that stocks which were higher are up a little bit.
Kotak is a big deal. I mean, it was keeping, it's quite a weight in the Nifty Bank. And if Kotak goes into the red, Nifty Bank cannot hold up. All the PSU banks don't amount to much.
Yeah. I think, Lata, what's happening is that stocks have essentially given up a lot of the gains. And something has not turned dramatically except the PSU bank space, but across the board.
Europe opening or anything?
Yeah.
What is happening?
Actually, Europe opened pretty much subdued. So, in fact, if anything, it has moved a tad bit higher from where it had opened. So, I don't think it's Europe. Maybe we can try and touch base with Ashwani if we still have him with us and see what's really happening. We could look at something like an SBI. In fact, we should pull up the intraday chart of SBI. It's just barely up 1% now. It's lost 2.5% in quick succession. So, mirroring what's happening on the Bank Nifty as well, and ICICI Bank as well. In quick succession, the stock has lost about 1%. Add to it other banks like, IndusInd, Yes. So while a few of them are still holding in the green, but there's a sharp knock that has come in from the top. HDFC Bank is another one. It's in the red, and it's lost about 0.8% actually quite rapidly.
So, to be sure, when we started, I mean, it was, as I said, that PSU banks are rallying to the exclusion of everything else. I mean, the Nifty was up only 30 points. So it's actually given up those 30 points, which of course needs to be pointed out and counted. But the fact is, we are down 30 on the Nifty. The cut is actually coming across in, look at the way the PSU Bank Nifty is, the Nifty PSU Bank Index is going, just 2% left. It's going down sharp and fast, very fast. There you go. Ashwani is with us, back with us. Ashwani, blame it on banks again. But what's your reading? Sharp cut.
See, I told you that now I am not as bullish as yesterday. See, basically both Nifty and Bank Nifty have hit their declining 20D DMA moving averages. Now, often pullbacks tend to end at the 20-day moving average, which is declining. Now, from here, we need to see whether this is a fresh downtrend, which makes a fresh low, or we come off and tomorrow or day after we restart the rally. So, for the moment, you have to assume it is a restart. So, taking short positions with a high of the day type of stop may not be a bad position to take.